Welcome to the Sherry Andrea Show. Your host, Sherry Andrea, brings her listeners interesting discussions and topics related to spiritual development, metaphysics, and energy work. Often referred to as a psychic empath, she is also a healer, personal development coach, author, and specializes in teaching advanced techniques in the law of attraction. Welcome, and here is your host, Sherry Andrea.
Hello, and thank you for joining me tonight. I hope that everyone is doing well. Obviously, I am running a few minutes late, and I apologize. These things happen. But I made it. As you notice, I had to reschedule last night's show, and I had to switch it to tonight. Only because I've been juggling like so many things. I've been trying to basically fit things in where they will fit in. And so I figured instead of just not doing the show at all, I'd rather just, I figured it was better to just reschedule it. But I'm happy to join you tonight. And as you notice, the topic of tonight's show is a little bit different than things I've done in the past. Tonight, I figured what I would do is I would dedicate a whole show to healing. And we can not only talk about healing, all different types of healing, but we can also take some callers and we can do some live on the air healing. And I thought it would be a really neat idea. And it's not original, of course. There are, I imagine, many other Blog Talk hosts that are healers that do basically the same thing, but on every show. It's a little bit unique to my show because I don't do it often. Well, I haven't done it as of yet, but, I'm not opposed to possibly dedicating 15 minutes every show, to offering a period of time where we can, people can call in and we can do a little bit of on-the-air healing. And what I'll do is, what I think is a good idea is I will tell you about my experience with healing and how I ended up getting into being a healer. First of all, let me say that if there's anyone who would like to call in, feel free to do so. The number is 417-816-4750. So that's 714-816-4750. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, and I'm also going to right now, I'm going to open the chat room as well. Let's see. Okay. It's opening. And so if anyone wants to go in the chat room, chat with each other, meet some new people, because obviously if you end up in the chat room with somebody, obviously you probably have similar interests. This would be a great way for you to connect with other people with like interests. I'm always hearing, from people that, and many of my clients that I do coaching for, many of them say the same thing, that they would love to meet someone who has similar interests, somebody that they can talk to. But then often when I do have the chat room open, the one thing that I notice is you're not talking to each other. So just something I noticed. I'm very observant usually, but and I see the chat room. Okay, it's still trying to open. It's coming. Here it comes. It's a little slow, or it may be my computer. Okay, there we go. The chat room is open now, so feel free to jump in, start chatting. If you don't want to call in, but you still want to request a healing, feel free to, in the chat, give me your name, and I'll give you some healing. Like I said, I'm going to start off by explaining how I ended up getting into healing. Um, I'm not even going to try to say the date, because I think it was like 2006, 2007, something like that. I owned a transportation company, transportation management, and I was running it by myself, and I was doing very well because I'd previously been in the transportation industry and in the event planning industry, and the company I was working for closed down. And so the person that owned it was actually a friend of mine. And so I had been wanting to run my own business for a while, and and the owner had actually helped me start my own business before he closed down. And I don't know if that was because he had, foresight that he knew he was, going to get out of the business, and he figured, he would help me to continue to stay in it. But anyway, I was fortunate enough to be able to, utilize his client list, since all the clients knew me. And so I kind of started off with a bang, you could speak. And I was doing really well, but it was very difficult to run a business, just one person doing everything. I was the owner, I was the salesperson, I was the operations manager, I would have to go out on site and spot buses. I mean, I was literally doing it all. But then it got really tough with so much business and limited resources to keep going as a one-woman show. So it was taking up 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, all of my time. And at the time, my son was around the age of 2 or 3. And so, it didn't leave very much good quality of life. It's like I enjoyed having a business that was doing well and that was successful, but it was really tough. So I made the decision to close down the business, and then, I felt good about it, I felt like, the door's wide open. Let me decide what I'm going to do now. And it was at that point that I decided to go back to school, and I was going to do, take some distance learning college courses, see where it led me. And I had to take this assessment course to start off with before I was accepted to the college. And so this assessment course, it was all about talking about your educational experience in life, because a lot of the people who enroll in distance learning colleges, they're older, usually they're professionals, they're already in a career already and working. And so usually you're asked to do, to take these assessment courses and do assignments that are basically writing essays on your previous educational experience, also essays on, what your plans are and what you expect to get out of being enrolled again in college. And one of the last assignments was that you had to graph for your whole life, anything that happened in your life that you would say like marked your life education-wise, that affected your educational experience, and that you thought affected like what you felt about education, or affected your education in some way, or your educational development. So as I was doing this last assignment, and, I'm going back and I'm thinking about it, and, I went back, all the way to, when I started in preschool, which back then was called Head Start. And, I'm thinking about everything that, I went through in school. And the thing was, I've been an empath my whole life, but for, of course, most of my life, I didn't know it. I didn't know what it was that I was experiencing. And so, as I was going back and I'm reminiscing, I can remember all these experiences that I had. And, of course, they were standing out to me very much as I reminisced. And, as I'm trying to pinpoint things that greatly affected my educational experience, I realized that at when I graduated from high school, where most kids decide, what college they're going to go to or what they're going to do with their life, I never did that. At that time, I was more creative than anything. So, I was thinking about theater, I was thinking about, music, maybe going to, actually to college, to learn music. I mean, actual playing music. I had thoughts of wanting to be, an actress. I mean, that's where my head was at because I've always been more creative than anything. So, but of course, I've always had sensible parents. And my parents told me, we'll pay for your college, but we're not going to pay for anything that we think is ridiculous. And at that time, I had taken computer courses. And I just happened to just be a natural when it came to programming languages. However, I had no interest in them. I was great at programming languages. I excelled at math. But I had no interest. My interest was purely creative. And that's where my heart was. But back then, I didn't understand, getting student loans or, trying to apply for student aid. And my parents told me, well, go ahead and try to apply for student aid, see if you get it. They knew all along that they could have at that point told me, hey, you can get a student loan and you can do anything you want to do. But they didn't, of course, because, of course, they wanted me to do what they thought best. So I had no idea, so I actually did that. I actually thought I had no options. And so I thought the only way I was going to get college is if they paid for it, and so I went to school for computer science. And I realized in doing this essay that I never actually followed any path that was my own. And I realized at that moment that I didn't know really who I was, what I was best suited for. And to make a long story short, that sent me into like a deep depression that lasted for, months. And, but I was like one of those people where it was like I wanted help. I wanted, out of that. But I also recognized that medication wasn't the answer, that really what I needed was that I needed someone to talk to. And so I was ordering sage from this lady online on eBay, and I don't know what made me do it, but I spilled my guts to this lady. This lady did not know me. And she replied back to me, and she was like so nice. And she suggested this book to me, and I'm sure I've mentioned this before. It was called Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting by Lynn Grabhorn. And I didn't know what it was, but I ordered it right away, and it came in a few days. And I started reading, and I'll tell you, by the end of the first or second paragraph, my life was changed. My life was changed, and I never looked back. That book, told me what I needed to hear, which was that I was in control of my own life and my own self, and that I created my own reality. And everything that book taught me, everything that the law of attraction taught me, was basically what I needed to hear at the time. And that's one way that you can be affected by healing. Healing isn't just like energy healing and somebody throwing energy to you. Healing can be acquiring a new truth that affects you so greatly, it literally heals you of whatever was wrong with you. It literally clears you of whatever your problem was. And that's basically what happened, is my depression was cleared by me realizing a truth that at the time I really needed to hear and I really needed to understand. I needed at the time to understand that it was okay, that I had total control, of what I did, where I was headed, and I never looked back. But that one thing led to another, led to another, led to another. As I was reading this book, I kind of understood that I needed to be able to, in manifesting anything, be able to raise my vibrations and be able to flow a high vibration of energy. And so that's what led me to go on the internet and look and research and look for things that would raise your vibration. And I tripped over Reiki. I wasn't looking for it. I knew nothing about it. So even without knowing anything about it, I went ahead and got an attunement and didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about it until I got the attunement and I got the manual and I started reading it. And like I said, one thing led to another. And it was like I didn't realize I was being guided, but I was. Because, I mean, now when I look back, it was like stepping stones. Things that didn't make sense all fit together. And so it was originally, going that way, taking that path that led me to Reiki. And even before I was attuned, just practicing flowing energy, I realized that I could flow energy, and like if I was standing on my tile floor, I could literally feel what felt like the floor moving beneath me. And so I didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know it was because that happens sometimes when you're flowing maybe a high amount of energy and maybe more, almost more than your body, your vessel has the capacity to hold. And it's almost like saying you have energy overload. More is flowing through you than you really can handle based on where your vibrations are at. But experiences like that, like feeling, like even now, when I practice spiritual work, it's not unusual for me to be sitting, practicing spiritual work, praying, and literally I've heard people describe it as an inner earthquake where it literally feels like everything is kind of shaking. But that, obviously, it led me to wanting to know more about energy work. And, literally one thing led to another, and that's how I actually ended up getting into healing and learning more about healing, is because I kind of, in a way, tripped over it, but in a way was led to it by the experiences that I was having, which weren't any accident. Okay, I'm reading. Hi, Dorian. Dorian's in the chat room. And so what we're going to do, is we're going to give Dorian some healing. She would like a little healing around her solar plexus. And for those of you who aren't familiar with where, like, all the chakras are, the solar plexus is right above the belly button. Kind of in between the heart and the belly button area. It's where your strength is. A lot of times, sometimes when we get upset and we get, not butterflies in our stomachs because that's below the belly button, but sometimes when we get really upset and our energy is being taken from us, we feel it above the belly button. And so that's a very important chakra because that's like your energy center. So right now, I'm going to flow some energy to Dorian. So, Dorian, how is that? Can you feel the energy? We're also going to right now, something that I do often whenever I give someone a healing, I go ahead and I ground them as well. And so I will. She said I'm a few seconds behind, but I really felt that. Okay, and I'll explain to you what I did, because thank you for the smiley face. And I'll explain to you what I did, because for any of you who can even just talk to your higher self, you can ask your higher self to do this for you. So when Dorian told me that she felt she had a problem in her solar plexus, I immediately asked my higher self to surround her solar plexus with the violet flame. Then I balance it by visualizing it spinning in the correct direction, which is clockwise. And then I asked my higher self to surround her completely with the violet flame, because what that will do, that will help get rid of any negativity that's like in any of her chakras, that's in her aura. So if you just ask your higher self, please surround me with the violet flame, and just sit for a minute and visualize yourself just inside this violet flame, and just, imagine that you're being cleared by it. A lot of times you can quickly rid yourself of whatever it is that has affected you. Now, of course, I grounded. You're welcome. I also grounded her, and you basically do that by visualizing, and I always start at the root chakra, and I ground down from there. It usually gives a more solid grounding. So I visualize a wide stream. So, of course, the stream is also going to be probably wider than you would visualize if you were visualizing going from just your feet down. So I'm visualizing from the root down a wide stream of energy going all the way down in the earth. And it is important to visualize that it's going all the way down to the core of the earth. And you can use different visualization techniques. And Dorian, I can tell there's like somebody here like helping with your healing, because it's like gotten like really, really, really cold in the room suddenly. So I just want to let you know there is probably someone that is with you, probably like one of the angels, and they're probably like standing there like, why didn't she ask us for help? But I just want to let you know that there's somebody with you. There's, an angel with you. So if you just ask for help, then even maybe you can be guided to like how you should approach giving, because I think you said you got a reading the other day. Maybe what you need to do when you get a reading, because I get the feeling that there's probably something specific that you're going to need to do when you're going to ask for somebody to read you, even if it's just surrounding yourself with the violet flame, just something that will keep you clear while they're connecting to you. So that you're not, like, as they're reading you, they have to connect and they'll disconnect, but so you're not affected by them. Because, anybody can, somebody can read you, but that doesn't mean, that does not imply the state they're in. That does not imply how clear their vessel is. So, there are people with awesome abilities, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're an absolutely clear vessel, and that when they connect to you, you're not maybe going to pick up a little something that they've got going on. So what I would suggest is use a violet flame next time. Like when you go to ask them, surround yourself, ask your beloved Christ self to surround you with the violet flame first, and then at least once they do their reading and then disconnect from you, you're going to be left clear. Because I get the feeling that you just need to do something a little bit different when you ask for readings. And like I was saying, make sure you, if you're going to do your grounding or you're going to do grounding for another person, visualize it going all the way to the core of the earth. And then what I do is I imagine that once it hits the core of the earth, that roots go out from there and like kind of really grab hold. And I visualize that as a way of visualizing that I'm going to stay grounded. And, hi, I see somebody else logged in. Guest 333333. I like the threes, by the way. I love seeing threes. The Trinity. And now remember, if you want to call in and ask for a healing, call in to 714-816-4750, or feel free to log into the chat room and go ahead and ask me, for whatever healing you need. Okay, I got what you're saying, Dorian. So what did she noticed that, but what happened? She couldn't clear it because she noticed that. But the thing is, so your reader couldn't do like probably a quick clearing for you. She couldn't cut the cords for you. Okay, I gotcha. I got you. Okay, so she cleared it, but you just still felt something in your Yeah, that's true. Like Dorian was saying that the reader that she used did clear what the problem was, but she said that she had to build it back up now. Because the thing is, okay, if you ever clear yourself and you decide, because I do this sometimes, if you decide to clear yourself and you have to do anything like you have to drop your energy or anything like that, or somebody does it for you, you have to immediately fill yourself back up with universal energy so that nothing else comes in. So imagine that somebody that you had a cup sitting in front of you, and that was your cup, and it was filled with water, and the person sitting next to you said, oh, there's something in your water, let me dump that out for you. Well, when they dump it out, now you have an empty cup. Something else could get in there. So you want to go ahead and you want to fill that cup back up right away as soon as possible so nothing else can get in. So, yeah, I would just, Dorian, I would use the violet flame, because if you're still clearing something, you can use the violet flame, and then if the clearing gets too harsh, then visualize yourself surrounded with pink light, because if you do pink will soften a clearing. So go ahead and use a violet flame. It's going to speed up your clearing. It's going to make the clearing faster, more effective. And then if it gets to be too much, then you use the pink flame and it'll soften it. So yeah, just do that and you'll be fine. But if you want to if you want to help it along, use the violet flame. A lot of people want to go ahead, and they do want to go ahead and get their, clearing done. They don't want it to be slow. They want to go ahead and get through it, release whatever they have to release. But, some people, you don't have to worry. If it ever gets to be too much, use the violet flame and just ask your beloved Christ self to, pull back on the releasing a little bit. I mean, because it depends on what you're releasing and how it's going to affect you. Because I remember when I was releasing something that had to do with my throat chakra, it would cause my tonsils to swell up, sometimes so bad that the pain would be agonizing. And so there were a couple of times, when I was clearing something, because it went on for about a year, on and off. Every couple of months I would start clearing something. But a couple of times it got to be too much. And so, yeah, I had to kind of soften it a little bit. Only because there are certain areas that are like almost like our Achilles heel. It's like you might be able to deal with a bad migraine, but maybe something that feels like tonsillitis, that's that much pain, you might not be able to deal with. It might be harder. So, don't feel bad about, asking for it to be softened or asking your higher self to pull back a little bit on the clearing so it's not, too painful, or sometimes it's just emotional roller coaster it puts us on. So just don't be afraid to go ahead and do that. But Dorian, sounds like you're doing really good. That's excellent. So just keep it up, and just remember after you do this, usually a good time to do something like that again is every 4 to 6 weeks, because then you have enough time to, go through that adjustment period, because you have to remember whenever you clear something, you advance. Spiritually, you advance, which means everything advances. Your abilities advance. We're talking about ascension. So the 4 to 6 weeks gives you time to adjust to being at that new level that you're finding yourself at. And so after about 4 to 6 weeks, then you can, do something else and get another clearing. So especially if there's something that you need to work on, there's, levels, and so we're clearing away level after level after level, and sometimes we know we're not done. It's like we're just peeling back another level. So if that's what you have going on, just go ahead and do a clearing on yourself every 4 to 6 weeks, or have somebody do it for you every 4 to 6 weeks. Sometimes what you're clearing is emotional, so you have to remember that if you get a clearing and all of a sudden the next few days you just your emotions are all over the place, you're getting upset, you're going, I don't know what's wrong with me. Well, that's your clearing, and you kind of have to just hang in there through it, because often you've resolved something, you just haven't released it yet. So it's that releasing that sometimes puts us on that emotional roller coaster, because I go through it too. And then I'm like, what's wrong with me? And then I remember, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I've been, working on my chakras, so okay, I know what's going on. But just remember, you're working on your chakras, or you're getting a healing or a clearing. It brings things up often that either you need to work on or that you've already worked on and you're still trying to release. So your goal is to try to release it. If you all of a sudden feel all of a sudden you have this venting coming out of you about something that happened in the past, you don't even know why you're talking about it, what's reminded you of it, you're releasing it. So if you feel yourself going back over it again in your mind, or getting mad at it all over again, try to let it out and try to let it go. And sometimes it comes out with you literally, something you haven't thought of in 10 years. Here you are thinking about it and complaining about it. And you're like, wow, I haven't thought about that in 10 years. And now all of a sudden, why am I reminded of this? Because it's trying to release. So don't think that you're not doing good. Don't let it make you feel like, oh, I'm not doing good working along my path. No, you're doing just fine. It's just time for it to be released. Oftentimes when I do healing for people, I often basically start flowing energy to them, and I will do that, and I'll wait to be basically intuitively guided as to what I need to do. And most often I am. And then what I usually do is I will often share with the person what I saw, what vision I got. If there was anyone present during their healing, if there was somebody working on them, because a lot of times someone does show up to work on them. Now, sometimes I'll know who it is and sometimes I won't. Sometimes, just like with Dorian, the room just got really, really cold, and I could tell, okay, someone's here, and that's not unusual. But I could also tell that intuitively, I could just tell that not so much that they were here with me, but they were there with her and giving her healing. They're there helping, and usually that's what happens a lot. Is that I'm just the vessel. I don't do anything. I do my spiritual work, and I work on being the clearest vessel I possibly can so I can flow the highest amount of unfiltered universal energy, God's light. And that's my role that I play in healing. So what I'm doing is I have to be able to get out of the way. So I flow the energy, or I ask my beloved Christ self to do various things, but basically I try to take myself out of the way because I'm not really the one doing it. I'm just the one that's being used as the one that the energy is coming through. So usually there's always somebody else there who's actually doing your healing. A lot of times, like recently, when doing a healing for somebody, I got a really cool visual I've actually never seen before, where they were surrounded by 7 angels, and I saw myself, I was flowing the energy to the 7 that was surrounding them, doing work on them. And it was the most awesome thing I've ever seen. But that's a good example of what's really going on, is that we're just like conduits. We're just the vessel being used. And if you step out of the way and let it happen, then even if you don't know that much about energy healing, spiritual healing, you can help people in amazing ways if you just practice getting out of the way. And that's really what healing is about more than anything, is being able to get out of the way. If you can do that, then you can be, a pretty awesome energy healer and give people what they need at the time and not give them what you think they need. Let yourself be guided, and basically it's easiest if before you're going to do it, you remind yourself of that before you start, a person's healing. Remind yourself, okay, I'm the middleman, I'm the middleman, so to speak, and I'm just flowing energy through me. I'm not the one doing it. I'm just, allowing God to use me. And if you remind yourself of that before you do the healing, usually you're more easily able to step out of the way because you've got that kind of on the forefront of your mind. And that way you're going to allow Spirit to come in and do what they need to do to really heal that person and really affect that change. And I get guided on, everything from not only how to flow the energy, but also sometimes I'll be guided to say a certain decree or a certain prayer while I'm doing it, because now we're talking about the power of the spoken word. Sometimes I'm guided to say a certain spoken word, such as "Be thou made whole" or "Thou sins are forgiven thee." So I'm guided sometimes to what it is the person needs. Is it guilt that's really maybe causing a health issue? Are they holding on to guilt? Well, you can release a person of guilt. Even if they're not releasing themselves of it, you can release them of it. You can literally say, they may not be releasing their own selves, but I release them of it. And just by doing things like that, you can do amazing things. Just by doing things like that and believing that you can. And so those are some things that you can do. I mean, because many times I find that, there are friends or family members that we want to help. And these are things that if you know a little bit, you'd be able to help them. I know that many people learn in Reiki that you're not supposed to heal anybody unless they ask you for it. That's not exactly right. It's right and it's not right, and I'll explain to you why. If a person, it depends on what your truth is. I am God made manifest in my human body. I am that broken off piece of God. And so, if a person has prayed to God and asked God for help, I am also one of God's helpers. So, them asking God for help, that also allows me to be able to help them. So, it's not so much that you cannot heal someone or help somebody unless they ask you. That's a little too specific for what the truth is. The truth is actually you can, in fact, if they have voiced at all that they want help, then you can help them. And that is how that works. But you're the one that has to believe that it works that way. You can't just believe it because I said that it's that way. That has to be a truth that you end up coming to yourself and that you end up believing yourself. And, like I've said before, when they say the truth will set you free, well, that's what that means. The truth can actually release you from something that's held you back. And now you can do something amazing because you've readjusted a truth. And so often, if you sit and you think about the things that you believe and you kind of ponder it and you say, well, do I still believe that's true? Well, what do I really believe now? And you let your higher self help you with it. And then you come to a new truth. Often what will happen from that is you'll notice you will begin to go through a clearing. That will actually affect a clearing, and you will move to another level. So healing isn't just flowing energy. Healing happens in so many different ways. I mean, how many times have you realized something? There's, a light bulb has gone off. You realize something and it's literally made you feel like it changed your life. That's healing. So healing comes in many, many different forms. And if there's anyone else that wants to call in, we've got about a little over 8 minutes left. And the number is 714-816-4750. Feel free to call in. I see Dorian still hanging out with us. I'm glad. We have to chat soon. I love talking to you. I love talking to everybody. You probably noticed that. That's one of the things. I never get tired of talking to people. I love it because I actually am probably one of the least self-centered persons, so I actually enjoy hearing about other people, what they like, what they do, what they get into. I just love that. So for me, it's awesome. Dorian said, I know, me too. Thank you. Because my mother says I just talk too much. My mother's always like, "Why you talk too much? And why are you always listening to people? Why are you, And she's like, it never fails. We can be out in, a grocery store, or some other store, and she's off looking at something, and she comes back to look for me, and I'm talking to somebody. And, as they walk away, my mother will be like, who was that? I'll be like, I don't know. And she's like, what was she talking to you about? And I'll tell her, I'll be like, oh, she was saying this. And she's like, why? She's like, why is it that people you don't even know this person? I'm like, I know, but I love it. I enjoy it. And I keep trying to convince my mother, I'm like, there is nothing wrong with talking to people. But, she is from a time where, I don't know, you just don't talk to people, I guess. because she is just like, not like, she's like, you don't talk to strangers. Strangers don't open up to you. You don't chat with them. You don't do that. So I'm like, I've been trying to convince her for years that I'm like, it's a great thing, like, to talk to somebody. It doesn't matter if you don't know them. It's like, it makes you feel so good communicating with other people regardless of whether you know them. I mean, you can be somewhere and end up chatting with a stranger, and when you walk away from them, you just felt like you just finished chatting with a best friend, and you may not even know their name. And so it gives you such a good feeling inside. And I don't know, I just wish more people would do that. I mean, I talk to even grumpy people, though. You know, how you're standing in line at the grocery store and you can tell that person behind you or in front of you is not having a good day. I even talk to those people. And usually in talking to them, I realize that body language they were throwing out and that look on their face, there really wasn't anything wrong. And they're usually like the friendliest person. And, you know, but you have to give it like, you can't be, I guess what I'm saying is you can't make that assumption because, like, somebody is throwing out that body language that says, I'm having a bad day, I don't like people. You can't let that stop you from being nice to people. Because if you don't let it stop you and you're nice to them anyway, guess what? They usually are nice back to you. Why? Because how else are they going to react to somebody who's being nice to them? Yeah, occasionally you'll get somebody who, you know, they're really having a bad day. But most of the times you'll surprise yourself and you'll end up realizing a little bit more about people and understanding people a little bit more if you just allow yourself to talk to strangers. Okay, this conversation isn't for children. Because I'm always telling my son, don't talk to strangers. You know, if you see, you know, if you're playing out in front of our house and a stranger comes up and talks to you, run in the house. No, this is for adults. Don't be afraid to talk to strangers. I mean, it will, sometimes that conversation that you have, sometimes that's a person that maybe you're meant to talk to. There's something that you're going to have a conversation about that is something you're going to need to hear, or there's something you have to say that maybe they need to hear. And maybe it's guided. You never know. If you feel an urge to talk to a stranger, an urge to talk to somebody, why don't you just follow that urge? Maybe you're being guided to talk to them. Maybe there's something that you would say to them, or maybe you would affect the bad day they're having in a good way. Hi, Dream Maker. How are you? Are you here for a healing, or are you just listening in? Let me know if you'd like a healing, because we've got a few more minutes. But anyway, don't be afraid to talk to strangers. And the thing is, if you're out and about and you see something happen to someone, I mean, I am the type of person, I see somebody, I mean, I could be in the grocery store, like I said, and somebody is walking by me and they have one of those, I forget what you call those things, they're not casts, but they're those plastic things that if you like sprain your foot really bad, or they put on one of your feet and they're like struggling, you could tell they're in pain. Don't be, hold on, Dream Maker, yes, I will. Don't be afraid to, ask your beloved Christ self to, surround their foot with or whatever part is injured with an emerald flame. Now, emerald is good to use for healing. Dream Maker, what is your question? I'll see what I can do. And but like I said, don't be afraid if you see somebody out there, they're hurt. Don't be afraid to quickly give them a little healing. no one needs to know. And maybe I can't explain it very well, but I think some of the best things that I do are in secret. Let's see. I'm getting no to that. Dreammaker asked a question and wants to know if somebody's going to be moving into her home in November. I'm getting that it's not going to be November. I'm not getting that he's not moving in. I'm just not getting that. I'm not getting that it's November. But here's the thing. If you spend a lot of time thinking about it, you could actually end up affecting the outcome of that. Basically, if there's something you want to happen, you need to feel positive that it will and not dwell on it, think about it a lot. Because if you do that, worry or concern actually could affect the outcome. And so I teach this to people a lot of times. You don't do that to yourself because you can actually affect a good outcome. Because the universe is always looking and is going to look down, what does she want me to send her? She's worried that he's not going to move in, or she's worried and concerned of what's going to happen. And you could actually end up bringing into your life the opposite of what you really want to happen. So you have to be very careful with, we call them, my colleagues, and this isn't meant to be offensive, we call these things that do not matter. Because in effect, they don't. There's a lot of stuff that goes on in our life, and in the scheme of things, it's not crucial. And the only thing Spirit really cares about is your spiritual development. Spirit doesn't care about whether or not we get that new job, whether we get a raise, what our financial situation is. Spirit is most interested in our spiritual development. So, now here's the thing. If this person moving in with you is going to affect your spiritual development, say that you're going to be going through some lessons with them that you need to work on, now Spirit is interested. And yeah, to me saying that, I felt a lot of energy in my lower back. That's not a burden type feel. I mean, for me it translates. I can feel it. I know what that means. So what my higher self is telling me is that is true. That the purpose of him and what you should be most concerned about, what he brings to you, he's going to bring to you lessons that you need to have and experiences that you need to have that's going to help you grow. That is what he is going to offer you. So I would say, don't worry, it's going to happen. Yeah, and he might be, like she said, she feels like he's going to be spending a lot of time there starting in November. That may be, but you asked me a specific question. You asked me if he was going to be moving in. So as far as that specific question, because you got to remember with Spirit, you ask a specific question, you're going to get a specific answer to the specific question you ask. Now, that's a different question. As far as, is he going to be hanging around a lot in November? That's a different question. And I am getting yes. However, as far as him moving in, I'm not getting that is happening in November. Now, it could be that it's happening in December. I mean, but I wouldn't, this isn't something I'd be worried about, because what I'm getting is, good night, Dorian. Can't wait to chat with you. Give me a call maybe on Sunday. Love you. What I'm getting is that this person is meant to help you with some lessons, some things that you need to experience in life. So his purpose for being in your life isn't maybe what I see his purpose in your life being important for one reason, and you may see it as being important for a different reason. It's okay. That's fine. But I just want to point that out to you, that he's there for a reason. So it's not like, I don't know if, if this relationship has been going on for a while. I'm getting that maybe it's been going on for a while, or maybe you guys have known each other for a while. But I would definitely look forward to the lessons that, living together is going to bring. Because there's some experiences and some lessons that you're going to go through. I don't know what they are, but definitely it's probably going to be beneficial to both of you, and it's going to help, both of you, grow and become, even better than what you already are. Even if you're an amazing person right now, you're going to grow even more from it. Well, that is all the time we have tonight, and I hope that you have enjoyed this episode. And if you'd like me to do another episode like this, or you'd like me to just spend 15 minutes, per episode on healing, I mean, of course, any episode, feel free, of course, to either go into the chat room and ask me for healing, call in, ask for healing, or even just email me your request. I do have a healing website that has a form on it that you can visit, thedivinehealer.com, and there is a healing request form on there. So if you want to specifically request healing, feel free to go to that website and, put your request in, and I would be more than happy to help you. And other than that, always feel free to contact me through my main website, my blog at sherryandrea.com. And I look forward to our next episode, and I look forward to hearing from some of you. And until next time, thank you and have a great evening.